أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Inshallah, today we will study ayah number 221 of Surah Al-Baqarah, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells what may be translated as follows: بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم, and do not marry the idolatresses till they believe. And indeed, a slave woman who believes is better than a free idolatress, even though she pleases you. And do not give your daughters in marriage to the idolaters till they believe. And indeed, a believing servant is better than a free idolater, even though he pleases you. These people invite you to the fire, and Allah invites you to the paradise and forgiveness by His permission. And He makes these signs clear to you so that you may remember. Sadaqallahu al-Azim. So now we are beginning a new discussion or a topic of new conversation, which is the conversation about nikah. Of a necessity, before the Muslims migrated from Mecca to Medina, the Muslims were living in a predominantly mushrik society. The Muslims were an outgrowth of that society. They were merely tolerated, or in many cases they were not even tolerated, they could not even live there. Right? The interesting thing about it is that this Islamic civilization has inside it several khilafas. And inside these several khilafas there were separate dawlas, or kingships, or states. Okay? And inside these states, there were many cities and towns and villages. Millions and millions and billions. And inside them, there are billions and billions of people. From the time of the Rasulullah ﷺ till today, the number of people who are part of the Islamic civilization exceeds 2 or 3 billion people. Right? But there's something very interesting about all these billions of people and their cities and their towns and their villages and their states and their dawlas and their sultanas and the imarat and the kingships and the khilafas and all these put together. All of this at its building block, the building block of Islamic civilization is what? The family. The family is built how? By a marriage between a man and a woman. And then they have children by the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is the brick upon which this whole structure is built. Of course, the marriage itself is based on what you said, which is taqwa. We'll come to that in a minute. But it is important for Muslims to understand that all this Islamic civilization, all this beautiful structure and this wonderful things and accomplishments and achievements and books and articles and scientific discoveries and buildings and all of these things are dependent on good Muslim families being formed. None of this makes any sense without that. And to build the proper Islamic civilization, there must be proper Islamic families. And these all families, they're starting out at their root in Islam with a marriage. So now the question is, what kinds of marriage should be encouraged and what kinds of marriage should be discouraged for the purpose of building the entirety of Islamic civilization?